nothing worse than finding like one of your favorite pair of undies with a big ass hole in it.
Yeah, like, dude, some of them like hole at the bottom, so things are just dangling, or like ripped at the back. Like I'm just like, come on, I'm better than this. I should be able to afford.
During moving, I lost most of my socks. I don't know how. Someone stole.
Dude, socks. I swear to God, there's a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy with socks.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but something. People have been taking socks for years. It's been a common joke for years that like socks just go missing, and I don't know what's going on.
They just walk away.
They just go away. I don't know. I think Big Sock is involved. I think they're taking them and repackaging them. So you got to buy them again, and they're keeping their costs down. You never trust Big Sock.
Yeah. I'm sure someone will blame liberals for it. So.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the corporations. Yeah. It's these woke corporations trying to take your socks. Today we're smoking the HVC or Pan Caliente mixed fill bundle.
It's like the third time we've smoked it. We just can't get enough.
I want to emphasize this to everyone how good these are. I actually sent these out to a few in-industry people, like other manufacturers and brand owners, just like, hey, I just want to know like what your thoughts on this. And I explained them what it was. I told them what the price is, and it's mixed fill, et cetera, et cetera. And they were like, this is crazy good. And I'm like, I know. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of the mixed fill, or specifically the Cuban sandwich, which is kind of the old adage for it. The difference between long filler and short filler is, on a long fill cigar, they're using, they'll break them in half, but they're using whole cigar leaves for the filler. Like in intact leaves. Now they'll kind of take those, they'll fold them in half, and they'll stack them, and they'll put their the different fillers in there, and then they wrap that in the binder, and they wrap that in the wrapper, they put it in the press, and then they go do their business. What mixed fill is it's still using a premium wrapper, and I believe most of the time still using a binder. I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's not in a homogenized binder like you'll find on like Machine Mates, but I believe most of the time it's still a true binder. And the only difference with the filler is, instead of having these whole leaves that you would use in a long filler, $10, $11, $12 cigar, as they're preparing the tobacco, as they're getting everything ready to be filler, or as they're cutting the wrapper to make sure it fits and taking the little parts off, there's all these scraps that are left over. Like things that just, kind of fall off, or as you're kind of folding them in half, some of it trickles down. There's always leftovers that are not intact enough to be used in a premium long filler cigar. So what they do is they basically take that, and then they use that as a filler, these kind of torn or cut pieces. So it's known as short filler because they're smaller pieces. I think that they really do get a bad rap because I feel like people, it's short filler, that means it's bad. The difference in quality, I mean, it's definitely there, but if you're using a high-grade tobacco, like if you take your favorite cigar ever, it's your favorite cigar, and then someone's like, I'm going to use a very similar binder and wrapper, and then I'm going to use the same filler, but it's going to be mixed fill instead of long filler. The flavor, again, how the cigar is constructed, there might be some more air pockets. So, like, it's definitely going to be a different, I don't want to say, but lesser experience, just because the construction is not going to be as it was. Like, air can get into different places, so it's going to pull differently, it's going to burn differently, and when it burns differently, it's going to give you different flavors. But it's still the high quality. It's not like they're going out and they're buying cheap, some companies do, but for something like this, they're not going out and buying cheaper cuts of tobacco just to use in mixed fill. They're using the scraps that they already have. And, for Renair at HVC, very small operation, wants to kind of maximize efficiency, maximize what they're doing. He gets very high-grade tobacco. He has a certain kind of finish and flavor profile that he likes to work with. And so he's like, why am I wasting this? Why am I throwing this, stuff away? And so he made these bundles. There's a Connecticut. I believe there's another one that's going to come out during PCA. But then we have the Habano as our exclusive. And again, would I pay $11, $12 for this? No. But I would pay $5 or $6, and we're selling them for around $2. So it's giving you a similar experience. And if you liked the the HVC overall profile, again, he's still maintaining his standard, meaning it's still going to have a nice clean finish. It's still going to be a quality product. But as you see, like, the wrapper is a little bit rougher. Mm-hmm. You only want to use the most visibly attractive wrapper on your premium cigar. That's why a lot of wrappers end up becoming binders, because at the end of the day, it might have the right thickness and the right age and all this stuff, but if there's too many blemishes or it's too veiny or it's just not visually appealing, you don't want it on the outside of your cigar. And so that's, a lot of that becomes binder. So I imagine that the wrapper on this is something that, in terms of its flavor and its aging and its burn properties, could be used as a higher end wrapper on one of his premium lines. But as you can see, it's like a little more wrinkled, it's a little more veiny, it's got some blemishes on it. But again, the taste is going to be the same. The experience is going to be the same. So you're taking a slightly unappealing wrapper and the scraps of the really good filler that you like, and then you're putting those together for this kind of discount experience. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better mix fill out there, a better Cuban sandwich. And it's called, again, the Cuban sandwich because the practice of doing this was widely used throughout Cuba, and even today in parts in a lot of Cuba, but especially in Florida, in the heavy Cuban areas of Tampa and Miami. This is what they smoke. They smoke, they're getting the best bang for their buck, they feel, with these. So it's a lot of cigar rollers. Hey, I got some extra stuff. I'm going to roll it up and, make these cheap ones.
Do you think the average cigar smoker knows about the mixed filler, in their cigar, if they can detect it? Would they, without, reading up on it, obviously, but, do you think that they're...
I don't know if they could detect it. I mean, a sharp eye can. I'll be honest. There's obviously some, there's going to be some burn things, and it's not going to deliver that perfection that premium cigars attempt to deliver. But, I mean, I've smoked long filler premium cigars that are worse than this.
Yeah.
Both in terms of construction, burn, flavor. So you'd really have to know what you are looking for. I feel like the average cigar smoker, if they know the difference between mixed fill or short fill and long fill. That's the other thing. Short fill is kind of all of the scraps. Mixed fill is a mixture of some long tobacco and some filler. I believe that's what the term Cuban sandwich means.
Gotcha.
It's a mixed fill. So these actually still have some. I believe so. Again, let me check on that.
I know.
Ask me a question.
I know when we smoked this, because we've smoked a handful of times on the podcast, handful of times, in meetings and whatnot. I'm always. I mean, this might be something stupid to be kind of impressed with, just how light it is. If some cigars, if they're bigger or longer, yeah, you can feel the weight in it. But I guess just the construction of this and the size is I don't want to say this is a near perfect cigar, but I think this cigar is I would do it an everyday, anytime cigar. You can have this on the golf course. You can have it in the morning.
Perfect golf cigar.
Yeah.
Because especially in the Robusto size, I mean, listen, it's $40 or something for a bundle of 25.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So you bring that golf in, you do a couple holes, you toss it, you light up another one. That's kind of the point of these.
Yeah.
And I was right. Cuban sandwich is mixed. So there actually is still some long filler or whole leaves in here, and then he kind of just fills out the space with the short chopped up filler. But I think this is a great direction. Listen, a lot of premier factories do seconds, overruns, mixed fill stuff. But what Renair's done that I'm impressed by and that I like is that he's making it part of his larger portfolio instead of doing it as hey, don't tell anyone. It's a separate thing, and being ashamed of it, which I understand why a lot of companies do that. I understand that for branding purposes, it's oh well, I could smoke this for $2 and their real thing is $15. Why would I? But Renair I feel is embracing that and being hey, this is my lowest form of whatever. It's what I just threw together for you. And if this is that good at that price range, and it's bearing my seal, it's bearing the name HVC and everything, if it's going like that, imagine how good my premium stuff is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it hooks a new cigar smoker right in. This is a cigar I would give to someone who is looking to, really get into smoking more, like making it more of a everyday hobby, every week hobby. I think the price point, a bundle of 40 for
No, it's a bundle of 25.
I keep messing that up.
It's okay.
A bundle of 25 for $40.
I think it's like between 40 and 50, depending.
And I think because a trend I'm seeing now, and maybe it's not a new one, seems like box of 10, box of 12 is kind of like what people are doing. I started here in 2019. There were this is just from what I've noticed. I might be wrong. There's boxes. There used to be boxes of 25. Used to be boxes of 20. And if you were to get any more, every time I would see, a cigar that has 20, 25 of them, they would come in a bundle, or a box. Now I feel like it's very much, we're going to do a box 10. They might be priced at, MSRP might be anywhere between $10 to $13 a cigar, maybe 13 to 15. So, it's something where you can buy a bundle. You're getting a bundle of 25. And this is, like I said, this is a cigar, like I would buy a bundle for my father-in-law who is, and I say it all the time, he's very he likes what he likes. I've tried giving him things a little bit stronger. He tells me straight up, I'm not a strong cigar smoker, but now that the weather's getting nice, every morning he's like, I want to go outside and have a cigar. And this is perfect for that. And the price range is right up someone like his alley, because I don't think a lot of people, I'm 37, so 20, 30 years older than me, are used to, I'm going to smoke an $18 cigar. Mm-hmm. I don't know about that. That's just their mentality. So this fits into, that demographic of cigar smokers who a little bit older, are kind of a one way, not one trick pony, but like a one way of what I want to smoke. And this invites them into a new company. And then you like what you smoked here, then then you can try their other Pan Caliente or their HVC 500 or
the selection number 1.
Yeah, they have a lot that could that are stronger too.
Just on your point there, and I'm not going to say I'm any kind of fortune teller. I think a lot of people have been saying this, but I specifically know I've been saying it for almost a decade, particularly with boutique manufacturers, is you guys got to do smaller box. I know that a lot of the brick and mortar stores like having the bigger boxes because they can refill them and it looks nice on a shelf. But for online, especially when you're a newer company, or you're trying to make a name for yourself, your cigars might be worth, of course they're going to be worth the $13, but no one's ever heard of you, and you got a box of 25 at $13. Now you're, $250 to $300 a box for a company that no one's really, maybe at that time hasn't heard of. I was always for online, and guess what? Every major private label that I'm doing for our companies, if we're doing it through wholesale, it'll have a larger box quantity because retailers like that. Anything for online, box of 10.
I think for online, pack of 5 packs, mixed 5 packs, mixed 10 packs, box of 10. I think that is the sweet spot. I think I would be hesitant to buy a box of 25 of cigars that I've never smoked before.
Yeah.
And that's me. I've only bought in cigars when I've been able to try them here multiple times.
Yeah.
So I think with bundles, I'm not saying, you have to try the bundles to buy it, but if bundles are affordable, I say take that risk. I say take the risk of the top, of the box of 10, because it's going to take you, even in a box of 10, it's going to take you some time. Maybe I was a little, weary of smoking through my mother church when I split that box with Greg when it first came out, because I wanted to savor it and be able to be I don't want to smoke through them. But I still have a few from when we bought it in 2021, because I just don't want to go through it. But I bought a box when I first started, the Ontario, Connecticut. I bought a box, I think of I think it came in a box of 20, 25.
Probably box
Man,
of 20,
it took me, COVID, I was smoking a lot, but it took me a few years to finish that box.
I mean, it's particularly hard for us to buy boxes because of the just almost unlimited access we have to all the cigars. I have more cigars at my desk than I would be able to smoke in a year. So when I buy something, I always buy it in a 5-pack or in a box of 10, just because I'm like, this is the kind of the amount I see myself in the foreseeable future smoking.
And they're good, and I think they're more affordable than buying 5 singles.
Yeah,
online.
I think that some manufacturers fear that, like, you know, there's the old mindset of, oh, well, if you have a box of 10, whatever the cost of the box is, it's kind of raise the price of the cigar because it's split amongst 10 cigars instead of 20 cigars. But I'm like, I've been doing this now for a couple of years, and I don't know everything, and I'll tell you that. But I've also seen, like, what that difference is, and it's rarely $1. Like, a dollar added in cost could be substantial, but it's rarely $1. Sometimes it's like 20, 30 cents a cigar, which over millions and millions of cigars can definitely add up. But sometimes that's something you can kind of just eat on your own. And it's like, well, I'll eat 30 cents a cigar in cost because I'm going to be selling more of them now because they're in a more affordable packaging. They're in this box of 10. And I'm sure there's, you know, we can talk to our analytics team and Andy and kind of run through what those numbers would look like of, you know, this same cigar, it's available in a box of 25 and a box of 10. How much of each did we sell, and how many units did we sell of each? Because that's what it comes down to, is like actual cigars, not number of boxes, because it takes 2 10s to make a 20. But how many cigars did we move out at the box of 10 versus the box of 20 or the box of 25? And see what it is. Like, oh, actually, we sold 1,000 more cigars overall by doing the box of 10. It's like, well, then that's what that's what you put into. Because also that box of 10... Right, the cost per cigar is going to be a little bit higher, but again, to spread it over 10 cigars, I mean, a really, really fancy, nice box, like the highest end box you could really find that you would sell cigars in, might be as high as like $20, 25 maybe, if it's, you know, something kind of extraordinary. Usually they're like a couple of dollars, especially if they're just like a wood slide top or that kind of stuff. So like you can get this stuff cheap, like still quality, but cheap. But that was very much an old, you know, the kind of the industry of the past is like, oh, well, you save a quarter per cigar by doing it in the bigger box count. And then you could pass that savings on to the customer, where maybe you're saving them 50 to 75 cents. But that's back when, you know, cigars were between $2 and $5, and then like a $10 cigar was extra. Yeah. Now, when the price of the cigar is like the average is probably like for really good premium cigars, the average is probably around 10 or 11. Saving them 50 cents doesn't really matter. No. It's not a who's going to buy a cigar for 11 that's not going to buy it for $11.50.
Do you think consumers look at like a cigar and like a paper packaging or plastic packaging, and they're like,
depends on how it's done.
They kind of steer away.
Depends on how it's done.
Davidoff
does
cigars,
it. We do it with our certified
Sober
vintage
Mesa,
line,
right? Oh, not Sober Mesa. Sorry, Dunbarton does it with a line too.
Yeah, they do.
Umbagog.
Umbagog comes in like
yeah.
Again, I think it's how you do it. I think it's, you know, what is the purpose of doing it like this? I think there's a branding purpose for Davidoff doing it like that, and for Umbagog doing it like that, and for, you know, our certified vintage line doing it like that. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some people who see, you know, a plastic wrapped or a cellophane wrapped bundle and kind of steer away. But to me, it's all about who makes it, what's it made of, and what's the price. I don't care what it comes in. Obviously, the fancier box, like, you know, it says, you know, it's a nicer thing, but there's plenty of Davidoffs that come in those crap paper 10 backs, you know, that are from like the Master Vault collection that are, you know, $40 a cigar. So I think it really depends on what you're trying to achieve branding wise and marketing wise with it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who look at a bundle and kind of shy away when, like, most true cigar smokers, like a lot of people in our industry, I would rather be buying bundle. Like if the product is available to come in a bundle, I'd rather take it in a bundle.
Oh yeah.
Easier to store, easier to kind of manage. You save a few bucks. You know, bundles I think can be, it takes away from some of the presentation, but putting stuff in bundles or 5-packs should really be a like, at least in terms of like major brands, it should be when that brand has some legs already and people are like refilling their stuff. But yeah, I mean, packaging again, it's subjective, and people's opinions on things like a bundled cigar or a mixed fill cigar or a short fill cigar. With my history in this industry, I know like a cheap bundle from like a bundle that's inexpensive, because there's a difference. I can look at something and be like, this is gonna be nonsense, or this is something. Hey, they put time and money into this. It's there's got to be a reason. Again, HVC and Renier, he would not be like putting his full branding and like backing behind these bundles if he didn't believe in it as a cigar. It's not like he was just trying to make a quick buck and like, hey, we have these excess cigars, sell them off a second, do whatever, I don't care, just sell them so we make some money.
Well, one thing I am, and this isn't like breaking news, but one thing I am noticing more as I meet more manufacturers and people in the industry, I feel like they take their, like certain people take their time. Like this is a question I would love to ask like John Uber or even Nick Melillo. Do you have this, like, is it like, and of course, I'm going to bring in movies to this, but is it like, all right, you have this idea, you're going to have to put pen to paper and then it develops, right? So, do they have an idea for a new cigar? Is it like, all right, what's going to be the theme around it? Because you see it a lot more with boutique brands, and even like Monte Cristo or any products from Altadis with, anniversaries coming up and all that. But I really do wonder how, like, I feel like they put as much time and work into the branding aspect as much as creating this cigar.
Yeah.
And I think and I don't know if that's just the way
I think
the world is going, because I feel like no matter what industry you're in, branding is so important. A lot of these big companies, small companies outside of tobacco, you look at like, I'm assuming Walmart, Target, they have these Instagram pages where it's all about branding, right? It's all about your brand and what you're carrying. So it would just be interesting to like pick their brain on like just the process of like creating a new cigar from the inception of, all right, what are we going to put in this? What are we going to make this cigar out of? What tobaccos? To, all right, I have this really cool idea or this theme for this cigar. I would like to see that, because it's,
go on.
No, I was just going to say one thing. I think the artistry in cigars is both equal, like the art in making it, crafting it, but also the art in the branding.
No, I agree 100%. I think it depends on the project. I think, we'll take John, for example, when you have something like Las Calaveras. I mean, he obviously, the branding does change every year, so he has to decide what colors and that. But generally, that's something where I think he already has the branding concept and the logo and this.
He's unique. That company is unique because I think it's maybe 4 or 5 guys.
No, they have a pretty big sales team.
They
have a pretty big sales team.
Yeah, so I mean.
But I think for that one, he probably starts with like, what's the blend I kind of want to express, and then when he's, when him or Nick or Steve are creating like an entirely new line, I don't think that they are like, oh, I want it to be this blend. I think they probably start out with, here's the story I'm telling. I want it to have this experience. I want it to have a lot of spice, but then this kind of thing on the end or this and that. And
which CHC cigar was supposed to really go hand in hand with the Van Halen album? Was that the Series E?
That was the Series E.
Yeah, like the band on it.
Yeah,
matched the album cover
exactly, and he wanted the the same way he had with 4 Kicks and everything. He's like, I want this to be reminiscent of the feeling of listening to this music, and the same thing with Nick Melillo. Like, let's take Olmec for example. This is the story he wanted to tell, and I'm sure he had. Well, I wanted to use authentic Mexican tobacco for the wrapper, and I wanted to have this experience, but. You have to go and play with the blend. You got to like try out different fillers, different binders, different ages on it to get it there. So I don't think they necessarily start with a blend. Like, I want it to be Nicaraguan filler, this binder, and this wrapper. I think they start out with, what do I want this to say about the story? Like, you know, what do I want people to experience with this? I want them to taste the difference between the Olmec Maduro and the Claro and the natural, and see, you know, this one has to have more sweetness. This one has to be a little bit more raw and a little bit more earthy to it. And I think they start there and then they go into their blend. But I think that those guys, those storytellers, start with the story and a general idea of what they want that story to tell, and then they let that take them to whatever the final details are. I think it would be, at least if you want a really good, well put together brand, it's tough to start with like, oh, it's just got to be a broadleaf with Nicaraguan filler, you know, and then I got to build a story around that. That's a lot tougher because a bad story can seem inauthentic.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have that story and that experience in mind first, you will put everything in the proper place to achieve that. You know, it's like, hey, my end goal is, you know, whatever you do in life, if you have your eyes set on the end goal, you will set up everything between now and then to achieve that goal. If your end goal is kind of ambiguous, your next step might be towards it or might not be. Like, you don't know. So you got to like kind of set a direct path for yourself. This is what I want the end result to be, and whatever I have to do to get it there. And then you will just naturally be hitting those things to get there. So that's at least my opinion.
Yeah, but I think Rainier did a great job with.
I think he did
with this, like across the board. I think, like I said earlier in the episode, to have a bundle so affordable, but also tastes like this, because I think there is a stigma against bundled cigars, and how smooth it is. I think it was going to bring in a lot of new consumers for his company, and then if they're like, wow, I really like this, let me see what else they have, and if they want to step up their, you know, their smoking game to something a little bit more fuller, stronger, then they can try it. And even if like they smoke the other stuff under his brand and they're like, hey, that's not for me, I can always go back to this.
Yeah, I think that this is a great beginner level for a lot of different kinds of people, for a new cigar smoker, someone who's maybe new to the HVC brand as a whole. It's more durable. Again, you don't feel as bad if you kind of smoke one halfway through, but it's going to tease you as to what to expect when you go out and buy a box or a 10-pack or a 5-pack of his premium line. And yeah, they're available right now, so make sure to check them out. We also do have the Connecticut. That's kind of available to a lot of different companies, but the Connecticut's also very, very good. But the Habano, considering that my favorite HVCs are when he's using Habano and these kind of tobaccos to give it a, you know, more of that medium body profile, I prefer the Habano, but the Golden Line Connecticut, he makes a hell of a Connecticut as well. So make sure to check him out on everything. Listen, we had a full cigar episode. How about that? It's been a while. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, keep them lit.